Hi Anthony, it's great to have you back here in Melbourne working with
thanks.
us again after our wonderful experiences with you with Tristan and Isolde, and then of course early last year in 2019 Flying Dutchman.
There we are.
And now here we are with not one but two productions this year.
Oh, that's amazing.
With Fidelio and then the middle of the year, Das Rheingold.
So lovely being back in Melbourne, you know, and the sense of warmth of the people one meets, and of course this company, I just love that. So Fidelio has played a huge part for me, and it's going to go on playing a huge part in my life. I think it started with the Toscanini recording of a broadcast in America during the war, and then I was in this opera workshop of Elsa Marlisman in London, and she used to do scenes, and I used to play and I used to conduct. And she said Fidelio is the greatest, and though I love Mozart's operas almost as much as any in the world, Fidelio has a special place, you know.
I think, you know, as we all know, Beethoven worked at it a lot. I mean, there was, five different attempts to get it right?
Well, 1805, the original Leonora, and then he was persuaded to revise it the following year. And then the real revision came, and the one we're doing, Fidelio, in 1814.
Yes. But in the best Mahlerian tradition, we are adding in that wonderful interpolation of the Leonora No. 3 overture.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what conductor can resist that?
Exactly.
In dramatic terms, Fidelio works wonderfully if you don't put the overture in. But on the other hand, if you do play that overture, not only...
This is before the finale.
It's before the finale. I mean, historically, it is also was played between the first two acts at one time.
Really?
Yeah, which, I mean, I think is rather crazy. But, you know, the one disadvantage of it is having the trumpet signal twice.
And look, it's a recapitulation of about what's going to happen.
But it's a meditation upon what we have experienced.
It's one
you
of
know?
the greatest works, isn't it?
And it is just a stunner.
Is it 22 minutes? It's like the full
No, it's about 13 or 14
13 or
minutes,
14.
but it feels like it.
Yeah, it's so exciting, and it gets the audience all...
And also, you know, Beethoven only used triple forte fairly sparingly, like the end of the Seventh Symphony. But Leonora 3, you come across it at least twice, which within 13 minutes is quite amazing.
It gets the audience revved up to that wonderful finale where the entire chorus suddenly appears, women appear, and away we go with that wonderful celebration of freedom.
And it's just, it is a kind of dramatic summary of the whole message and essence of the piece, really. Yeah.
And it's such a condensed and dramatic work with... Although it works just in normal human terms as an opera, the other beauty of Fidelio is it deals with ideals, doesn't it? It deals with principles of freedom and love and familial, domestic love.
Yeah, well, now you mentioned domestic, because I think that's terribly important. It's been so criticised, because people say, oh, well, of course, you know, it's not until you get to the really dramatic. But actually, the Singspiel, you know, this aspect of it, which is based on Gluck and Mozart, is so important because, I mean, in a prison, you've got the domestic scene which is happening. And I mean, you only have to think about the most sinister thoughts, like the concentration camps, where you had the families of the commandant or somebody carrying on normal life, you know, while these hideous things were going on.
Schubert at night.
So,
clutching in your hands, you have a rather wonderful piece. It's your miniature score of Fidelio. And perhaps you'd just like to just show the punters these wonderful inscriptions which we'll drop in.
The story of this is that I worked with Reginald Goodall on a number of Wagner pieces for the Welsh National Opera, and Tristan, the Walküre, and Parsifal. And we, both of us, talked about Klemperer a lot because Reginald Goodall revered Klemperer. And used to take the first half hour of rehearsal in his last years for him,
Right.
And
how scary.
Oh gosh, yes, he told me how Klemperer was sitting at the back, you know, and there was one passage in the Bruckner 8th Symphony which Reginald Goodall had got a bit bogged down in, and so when it came to Klemperer, Goodall was sitting in the front row and Klemperer was conducting. When it got to that passage, he just looked round at Goodall as to say, that's how it goes, my boy. Anyway, the thing is this, that I had this Klemperer sort of revelation. I went to his very late concerts, and he did the Beethoven cycle in 1970, and I went to nearly all of that cycle.
Well, he
and
was just a physical wreck.
well, he was, but he was a giant. Suddenly, the whole of him sort of rose out of this chair at the transitions. He gave absolutely all his energy to a big transition, and then he set it back, back again.
There's video of the ninth, which is amazing. Always a good test. All the players are sitting forward like this.
Oh yeah. Well, there's also a video. There's a video from '64 when he was more on top of it, and then 1970. I think almost it was too much for him tonight. Almost the last moment, but nevertheless, I had this complete revelation. So when I worked with Goodall, we used to talk about this all the time. He kept coming back. He called him the old boy. And so anyway, when we finished work together, and Goodall died in 1990, but this was in the late 80s, he passed on this score to me, of which Klemperer had written an inscription. When Klemperer came back, Klemperer came back to conduct his own production of Fidelio, a revival in '69, and I went to the dress rehearsal, actually, to my dear colleague Reginald Goodall, the excellent conductor, with the very best wishes for a fulfilled life. Otto Klemperer, March 1969, London. Well, I worked with Goodall, he's written down the dates, 79 to 84. And he wrote to me, "For dear Anthony Negus, as I know he honoured and revered this supreme musician, Otto Klemperer, as much as I. And as a memento of our wonderful work together on the performances and recording of Tristan und Isolde and Parsifal with the Welsh National Opera, from Reginald Goodall." So,
wonderful thing to
treasure, pleasure. And this is the first time it's come out of the house.
Okay, it'll go straight back. But that's a great, and of course, the wonderful thing about music, isn't it, is that you can make these connections that with the 2 or 3 degrees of separation, you suddenly, Klemperer, Mahler, Brahms, Beethoven.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
It's not that far away.
And I mean, Klemperer, he conducted huge range and he was famous for modern music. But in his late years, people always associated him with Beethoven. Called him a Beethoven dog collar. Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward. We've just started rehearsals, Maestro, and we're looking forward very much to doing this wonderful work with you.
Right in it. Yeah.
No, it's a wonderful piece, and of course in this. What's the word for 250? It's not sesquicentenary, is it? Bi-sesquicentenary? It'd be something or other. The 250th anniversary of Beethoven's.
250. I can't think what.
There'll be a very long German word for it.
I think there might be. Yeah.
It's great to be kicking off the Beethoven year with this great production, which we're also taking to Bendigo. We're taking it to the beautiful new theatre in Bendigo, which you haven't seen yet, the Alumbra Theatre.
Which was a prison.
Which is built in a prison.
Amazing.
Irresistible.
Yeah.
So see you there.
Oh, great. Thanks, Greg.